So it becomes something that really only the wealthy can manage $25,000 a month. But you've got to protect yourself, because if you don't, they can come back and the state or the employee who's filing a claim can recover all the... You can still qualify and own a home. Now, what'll happen though is if you live in, that's the reason people transfer it, is if you live in a skilled nursing facility, they can come back later, Medi-Cal, to recover the costs. So that's where people work with attorneys. But again, I tell families, don't even consider placing your mom and dad in a skilled nursing facility unless there is nothing. And you need to go look at those places. The nicer skilled nursing facilities don't take Medi-Cal. So I will send families and say, okay, go look at these 2 skilled nursing in your neighborhood if you really want mom there. Almost all the time people will say, well, let's look at what else is available.
Hi, everybody. Jose Luis Morales here. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Kelila. She works for Assisted Living Connections. And today, the topic of the show is a very important one, especially for those that are seniors or have senior parents. It's how to find an assisted living facility, how to find an assisted living facility for mom on a limited budget. What is the difference between assisted living, nursing homes, or even in-home care? We're going to go from everything that is required to help somebody be placed in a home or get additional care for them. Welcome to the show, Kelila. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much, Jose, for having me here. It's an honor to be here. And thank you to everyone listening and watching and tuning in.
I love it. So I'm excited about this topic because I think that it's something that's growing. And I also believe that all of us at some point are going to experience something like this, either personally or with our parents. So I think the more educated we are on this topic, the better we can assess a situation like this. So for our viewers that don't know who Kelila is, who is Kelila? And then how did you get involved in assisted living? And what does your company do, Assisted Living Connections, as well?
Okay. First of all, it is such an important topic because every day over 10,000 people are turning 65 in the United States. And that's the fastest growing age group in the United States is age 85 plus. And so this is a topic, if you haven't had to deal with this yet, you will be dealing with it because everyone's living to be 95, 100 now. All the time I interact with 100-year-olds. I'm the co-owner. Tammy Podell and I own Assisted Living Connections. We are a placement agency, and I'll describe what we do. But first, how I got into this business, when I was young, I would always sit with the elders in my family at family gatherings and connect with them. And I had a career in marketing and sales. And later, after my mother in 2008 fell and broke her hip. So I got introduced to the world of senior care and hospitals and skilled nursing and home care. She then had a major stroke sometime later, and she now lives in an assisted living. She's been in assisted living for 11 years. So my experience with her got me into this, that I wanted to give back to people and help people who are in the similar situation where you usually often get thrown into it and you just don't know, what does Medi-Cal pay for? What does Medicare pay for? And what's available? So what we do is we help families and seniors negotiate this whole world. So a placement agency is a local, ideally, I would describe us a little bit like social workers and real estate agents for senior living. Just kind of loosely to give you an idea of what we do. Because most people say, what, a placement agency? I've never heard of that. So our company, we have a team of 7 people. We're licensed with the state of California as administrators for assisted living. So the state of California oversees all assisted living locations. Now, those locations are different than skilled nursing or nursing facilities. So I'm going to get into that. But a placement agency offers services to families and seniors at no cost, and we help people navigate the world of senior living. And often first thing we do is helping people find in-home care. And I'm going to talk about the costs of that. We just provide all sorts of resources. Maybe the senior is eligible for veterans benefits that helps pay for in-home care and assisted living. Maybe they need to get onto Medi-Cal, and we'll tell you who to talk to for that. And then when someone does need more care, often we're looking at assisted living. And we know every location in Ventura County, small and large, and we also cover LA County, and then we have contacts throughout the US. People who are placement agencies like ours that are local and licensed and take their clients on tours. So there's places who do this online, like A Place for Mom. They are giving you a zip code list. They don't know the places. They're not boots on the ground. Anytime you go into senior living, I give the example. If you move to a new city and you don't know any of the neighborhoods, do you want to just buy a home on your own without a really good local real estate agent? And even if you do know the neighborhoods, you need to use a real estate agent to help you negotiate the rates and find the right place. And there's so much detail about that. Well, it's similar in senior living. You need someone who has the background information, can help you find the right place for the right price. We help negotiate rates in senior living. And again, we take our clients on personal tours, so we narrow down all your options. That's how we're a little bit like a real estate agent.
Not only that, but you get feedback as well too from consumers as well too. So if you place somebody there and they don't like it, or they all of a sudden are under new ownership, you get firsthand feedback, which means you have all this information that you can share with families as well.
Yeah, we've been doing this since 2009, and we keep contact with our former clients. That's our number one source of business, and make sure they're happy where they're living. And again, we do have the background on all these places, because you may have a place that looks really beautiful. We call the new locations in assisted living senior resort communities. They're such a far cry from nursing homes of the past. So let me just give you an example of a family I'm working with. So I had a daughter, Joanna, call me last week about her dad. He's living in Ventura. She's living in Louisiana. He's only 79. He's a retired attorney, but he's been in and out of the hospital with kidney issues. And so she came into Ventura for a family wedding. And then her dad ended up in the hospital again. And the social workers and case managers there said, he's going to be discharged in a few days. He cannot go home alone. He's really not taking good care of himself. She went to his house, 4 years of unopened mail, just really a disaster. And she went, there's no way we can have him at home. So the hospital gave her our phone number. And within 2 days, we found him a great assisted living to live that could take care of him and take him to dialysis for kidney issues and take care of all of his needs. A large assisted living, because he still was a pretty sharp guy, so he could make friends and go to a dining room with meals. So when you look at that scope of senior living, I like to describe where people often start, and that's in-home care. Because, grandpa, grandma, everyone's told you, don't ever put me in a nursing home. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm going to talk to you about why the places that we move people to now are not nursing homes. But we often start with in-home care because sometimes, maybe they just need a little bit of help around the house. So in the state of California, there are no independent contractors in in-home care. So it used to be that you could hire people and just pay them, but it's not legal to do that, to just pay people cash anymore. If you hire someone who's not from a licensed bonded insured agency, you are required to be the employer, just like you were Walt Disney, same employment laws. So you've got to pay all the employment taxes, follow all the employment law. That includes overtime, breaks. You have to document everything. And you have to have workers' compensation insurance, because if that person gets hurt on your property, they can come back to you. The state will come back to you, and they'll find out that you haven't been paying employment taxes. And what we're seeing is there are attorneys now who are specializing in these kinds of employment violations where employers employees go back even a year or two later and recover all this money from the family because they weren't being paid properly. So I send articles almost every couple times a week. I send to families articles about employment law and what you need to know. One reason a lot of people hire and pay cash under the table is because hiring a licensed, bonded, insured home care company to come into your home and help your mom or dad with showering or bathing or grocery shopping, that's running about $35 an hour on average right
Wow.
now. So 4 hours a day, that's $4,200 a month. 8 hours a day, say you have 2 4-hour shifts, that's $8,400 a month. So assisted living looks pretty good because it's much less than that in most cases, unless you're in a very expensive location. And when you need a full-time caregiver, that's $25,000 a month. So it
And full time
becomes
means day and night, basically. That's what
day
full
and
time means.
night. So you'll need more than one person to cover those shifts. So it becomes something that really only the wealthy can manage $25,000 a month. But you've got to protect yourself, because if you don't, they can come back and the state or the employee who's filing a claim can recover all the resources of the family.
So there's almost like these agencies that help place seniors into assisted living facility, or not.
Well,
Sorry.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
We
No,
help people find assisted living, but there's agencies that provide caregivers
that's what I
that
was
come
going to
into
say.
the house.
Who are the agencies that provide the caregivers?
I mean, there's dozens and dozens of them. So when a family calls us, I'll say, where do you live? Are you in Ojai? Are you in North Hollywood? Where are you living? And then I'll give them 3 local agencies, depending where they live and what their needs are. I had a call yesterday, someone who fell in the hospital and now can't move and can't even speak and needs an LVN to come in. So that was a specific, to have a nurse come in because they have a tracheotomy and a G tube in their stomach from this accident. That's a specific kind of agency. So I'll give families 3 different home care agencies that are licensed, bonded, insured to call and to contract with independently. So that's just one of the, we're a referral and placement agency. That's one of the resources we offer.
I love it. Now, what is the difference between in-home care and nursing homes?
Okay. So again, in-home care. So let's talk about Medi-Cal, Medicare, and then we'll get into those different types of designations. So Medicare is the government health program for people 65 and over. And that covers your doctor's visits, hospitalizations, and short-term stays at skilled nursing facilities. So Medicare will cover up to 100 days a year at a skilled nursing facility. These are medical facilities, 1 story, staffed with nurses, CNAs, doctors come in. And they're really for rehab. So say mom falls and breaks her hip. She goes to the emergency room, she goes to the hospital and has surgery. Now she goes to a skilled nursing for 2 to 4 weeks. It's very rare that they keep anyone for 100 days anymore. For rehab, she gets physical therapy every day. It used to be, and nursing care, nurses taking care of her. It used to be that's all there was. So when grandpa says, don't ever put me in a nursing home, it's one of these facilities, skilled nursing. Because it used to be that was the only choice. People ended up living there who didn't have any money. Now we have a whole nother class, which are called assisted living, for people who need help. But back to skilled nursing facilities, there are some people who live in skilled nursing facilities who are on Medi-Cal. So Medi-Cal is the program for lower income seniors. And it helps pay your medication. It will help pay for some limited in-home care. They send caregivers in to the home, but not round the clock. It's limited hours. And for low-income seniors, they can get a shared room in one of these skilled nursing facilities and live there, and Medi-Cal will pick up the cost beyond their Social Security. However, I tell families this is a medical facility with people in wheelchairs in the hallways and lots of infections. It is not a desirable place to live. So that's where I step in to help families to see, no matter what their budget is, my team is trained to help everyone find the best resources if mom and dad can't go home.
And
Does that
then
make sense?
it does. And this is kind of, I think in the Latino community, this is a misconception. Sometimes people think that if you own a primary residence, that you don't qualify for either Medicare or Medi-Cal. And a lot of times I see Latino parents transfer the home to their kid because they're concerned that if they ever need care that they won't qualify. Do you know anything about that? Or is that more like of an attorney Medicare, Medi-Cal question?
Um, you can still qualify and own a home.
Got it.
Now, what'll happen though is if you live in, that's the reason people transfer it, is if you live in a skilled nursing facility, they can come back later, Medi-Cal, to recover the costs. So that's where people work with attorneys. But again, I tell families, don't even consider placing your mom or dad in a skilled nursing facility unless there is nothing. And you need to
Available.
go look at those places. The nicer skilled nursing facilities don't take Medi-Cal. So I will send families. I'll say, okay, go look at these 2 skilled nursing in your neighborhood and see if you really want mom there. Almost all the time, people will say, well, let's look at what else is available.
So the first step, it sounds like if somebody's going through this, is finding somebody like you or reaching out to you to get a recommendation, and then seeing what options are available for them, like Medi-Cal, VA benefits, Medicare, money from here, money from there, and just kind of coming up with like, okay, these are the programs that you would qualify for, almost like talking to a loan officer. And
Yeah.
then once you know what you talk to, then at that point going shopping for a property. So
So I
um,
encourage people to call me because the initial call, I'll do a short intake and learn about the care needs of the senior, the desires of the senior, the desires of the family. Does the senior have memory loss? What are the health needs and what's the budget? And often we'll develop, here's a short-term plan and here's a long-term plan. So maybe right now you can afford to live in assisted living. And then when your mom runs out of money, um, or your parent runs out of money, which happens to a lot of people because they're living to be 95 and they go through all their resources, then I will help them get into Medi-Cal's assisted living waiver program. That is a program that helps pay for assisted living. It's in a number of counties in California. Right now, close to us, it's in LA County. We should have it in Ventura County by 2026. So we often do, here's long-term, here's short-term planning. But we can do that on a phone interview. And just to give you an idea of what assisted living provides for people and what the costs are. In assisted living, so we have large assisted living facilities, and the really new nice ones are very elegant, like elegant hotels, or we call them senior resort living. They provide, you have your own room, your own bathroom. You go to a dining room with waiters for meals, a full, beautiful menu. You have all your transportation provided. Room is cleaned once a week, personal laundry done, sheets and towels, bed remade. And then you have all sorts of activities, movie theater, salon on site, games. Some of them have swimming pools. I mean, there's so many activities. Senior can be kept busy all day long if they want, but they have their room, their private retreat. So more independent seniors, we move into facilities like that. And in Ventura County, I mean, should I speak to Ventura, LA County, or what's the range,
I
Jose?
think either one is fine. Like, so if you do Ventura, LA, or yeah, I would say specifically for Ventura and LA County.
So Ventura, LA County, you can still get like a studio apartment. So that's be the smallest size. It's like just one large room with a private bathroom in one of these assisted living communities for about 3,000. That's about the least expensive. Um, and then the only thing additional you pay is care. If a senior needs care, that's an additional fee. And then the nurses at the facility determine that. But this is not a medical facility. Nurses either they'll have nurses during the day, some of them, or the doctors or nurses will come in. Physical therapy can come in. So they can provide all the care needs for a senior. And in Ventura County, I would say a 1-bedroom unit will run 4,500 to 8,500. They can be very upscale. So those are the large assisted livings. And again, I like to move more independent seniors are going to enjoy all the socialization, because that's the big piece about assisted living as opposed to living at home, is you have a social environment. You don't have to worry about shopping anymore, or taking care of cooking or cleaning, and you have people to interact with. Humans are social. They're not meant to be home alone in a dark house watching TV. And I see a lot of seniors ending up doing that as they become more limited with mobility or cognition. Then there's also memory care. Memory care are often separate areas of a large assisted living for people who have a lot of memory loss. You can have some memory loss and live in a big assisted living, but if there's significant memory loss, memory care are available with higher staffing and specialized programming. And those locations run $4,500 and up. $4,500 would be a shared room. Private rooms are usually like $5,500, $6,000 to $12,000 a month. They're expensive. And then the third kind of assisted living, and again, these are all licensed with state of California and overseen by the state, are residential care homes. So those are single family homes with private owners, but again, nurses come in, doctors come in, licensing comes in. There's only 6 seniors living in a home with 2 caregivers and an owner. And so it's a very high level of care. My mom's been in one in Thousand Oaks, where I live, for the past 4 years. And so the care is exceptional, and I get to go visit anytime. And during COVID, I never missed seeing her. We just sat outside even before there were vaccines. So when people need more care or have significant memory loss, this is another type of assisted living. And it's really meant to simulate a family home. And in Ventura County, my team, we know every single residential care, these board and care small homes, every single assisted living, every single memory care. And we also cover LA County. So again, I'm always helping, and if families don't have enough for that, then for those types of options, then we look at what we can do with the assisted living waiver program, how to apply for that, or in-home care through Medi-Cal, or even an adult day program. So, we have all the resources and everything available.
I love it. I love it. That's good. And then just for our viewers, so whenever they think of real estate agent, they think sometimes that they're paying us money to help them find a home. And usually the seller pays for the commission. So whenever you're buying a home, that doesn't apply. What does all of this look like in terms of fees for all these consultative things, and even helping them find items or even help them negotiate as well too?
Okay. So there's no charge for our services. We have a contract with all of these assisted living locations. So they pay us a fee after a senior moves in and lives there a month. Now, the most important thing is we help you find the right place. But it's also important to know you never pay more. We're there to negotiate the rates with you. Now, in a small residential care home, those prices aren't listed. You have no idea going in if you're going to be paying $1,000, $2,000 over market. But we know the pricing on everything and what's fair. And again, we help negotiate. The large assisted livings, we teach our clients, where you can negotiate. And a lot of them are running specials. So especially if they're not full occupancy. So we, again, help our clients find that. And we narrow down your choices, because you don't need to go see 10 places. We're going to narrow down all your choices. And it's very frustrating. You call around and the places are $8,000 and $10,000 a month. Well, that's just the bigger, better known places for someone who needs a lot of help.
Where can you negotiate with some of these places?
So you can often negotiate on community fee, which is an one-time entry fee that keeps up the whole community. Many of them run specials. They'll have a special with 10 or 15% off rent, or they'll give you the 3rd month free. You don't negotiate on care costs, and you really don't want to negotiate on care costs, but that's not available. And in the small, these are the larger home assisted living communities where
Hmm.
you pay your rent, you pay a separate amount for the care. So, we help families figure that out. But
Got
first
it.
of all, we're taking them to places that are in their budget.
100%. Now, I know that we went over in-home care, we went over skilled nursing, we went over assisted living. What about nursing homes? Did we go over that? And
Well, a nursing home is the old terminology for skilled nursing facility.
oh, got it.
So, and it's still used in the media that they call assisted livings nursing homes, but it's just an old word that was used when there were only these old convalescent nursing homes. So now, when you walk into a senior resort community, oh my gosh, they've got these gorgeous dining rooms and beautiful views, and
Hmm.
they're so well appointed and spacious. Their apartments have full kitchens with washer and dryers. It's just looks nothing like a nursing home, and they're really being built now for all those baby boomers, all those people who are turning 65, 10,000 a day. That's why we've had in Ventura County, we've had 11 new communities with assisted living, independent living, and memory care built in the past 3 years.
Got it. Now, I know that there's memory care. Are there, what are the different types of care that people need in some of these facilities? Like, so there's memory care, dialysis, I would imagine. Is that a type of care? If somebody has
Well, that
Alzheimer's?
okay. So when people have dementia, so usually it starts with short-term memory loss. So you can
Mhm,
move into any of these communities with short-term memory loss and function fine, for a long time. The care they're going to provide when you need it. Maybe with
mhm,
short-term memory loss, you're forgetting when to take your medications. So
mhm,
that's the first level of care, is help with medications, help with laundry, maybe help with bathing, standby bathing, because people fall in the bathroom. That's where they get hurt.
mhm,
And help with dressing. Um, so those are the types of, they're called activities of daily living that
mhm,
these communities provide help with. Now, there are people who are at a very, who are in a wheelchair, um, who need help with toileting and help with, much higher level of care. I mean, dialysis is doesn't apply to a lot of people. They're going to have to go out for dialysis to a facility. Um, but that care is provided through the end of life. So most often when a senior moves in, they don't have to move out. Hospice services are paid by Medicare, and they will come in and provide additional services when people are at the end of their life.
got it. Okay. Now, let's say that somebody is starting to have that conversation with their parent about moving into an assisted living facility. Um, any tips on having that conversation with your parents? Obviously, educating them that it's not the same thing as the old term nursing home is probably step one. What would you say are some tips? And what would you say are some of the things that you see that are common when explaining that to them?
Um, so often the scenario is the daughter calls me because mom's fallen and broken her hip. She's been
Mhm,
independent till now. She's had some memory loss, but now she fell and broke her hip. She went through rehab and she just really can't live on her own, but she really wants to go back to her home. Of course. So the first thing we talk about with mom is, here's the cost of in-home care. You
mhm,
know, is this something manageable that she can afford to have in-home care coming in? It's usually, if people are needing care around the clock, it's usually way out of reach. So I'll often take the daughter or son out and we'll look at places in advance. And then I'll say, pick out your top two and then take mom back for lunch. Let her see what the environment's like. I mean, seniors are usually very surprised how nice it is and how friendly the people are and how welcoming and how great the food is and all the activities. And so that mom or dad can pick the place they like best. Um, so that's often one way we approach it. And, lots of people are very resistant and they don't even want to have care brought in the home. So that is a process. One thing my service provides for our clients is um, a social worker with with a master's in social work with an emphasis in dementia,
Hmm.
who can sit down and talk with seniors and work with the family and mediate it when you have a really resistant senior who needs care but is resisting any kind of help. So, and then we work with all the nonprofits in the county, the hospitals, the doctors, the senior agencies, to provide the services for the family, no matter what the senior's living needing. But like I said, often I'll take the daughter or son out first and we'll do a preview of properties and then bring mom or dad back for lunch or dinner so
Got
they
it.
can experience it for themselves.
Perfect. Now, I know that there's different levels of assisted living. What would you say makes a really good assisted living facility versus maybe one that is not as good? What would you say the difference there is?
Well, if you're looking at the large facilities, you want a place that's kept up well, um, that has nice grounds, that has really tenured staff that have been with them a long time
Uh huh.
and experienced staff. And, it's great when you walk in and you see caregivers who've been at the place for 20 years. You want to see that kind of um, longevity with the people working there and that have really friendly people. That's why, often we help people in crisis who need to find a place within a week.
Hmm.
But it's great if you have a little extra time. So you can go back and say the senior loves, old movies and they have a movie discussion group there, or loves art or loves live music. We'll bring them back for an event so they can start to get to know people and, see what's a fit. Because when we're looking at a community for a family, we're not just looking at budget and location. We're looking at, is mom speaking her original language now? Maybe mom has more memory loss and now she's reverting to speaking just Spanish. So we're going to look when people need more and more help, often at these smaller residential care homes, and we'll find the ones that have owners and caregivers that speak Spanish. Or, for example, in Ventura County, we know the one home in the whole county where the owner and the care workers speak Lithuanian. So we have it drilled down to really understanding what are the needs of the senior and what are the communities offer. And you can bring your pet to all of these places. They welcome pets, cats and dogs.
Are there size limits?
Yeah, if you got a big dog, there's a problem with that because you think about it, you're in a community with seniors. Some people may be 62 and walking around, but some people are going to be 102 and frail. So they often won't let big dogs in because it's a fall risk for people or a accident risk.
Are there, you know how everything is customizable, like even how there's a facility that speaks Lithuanian. Are there, like, if somebody had a big dog, is there a place for them? Or because I remember there's this gentleman in Fillmore who's like, he's that guy that you just described of sitting at home watching TV all day, all by himself. And the reason
Hmm.
he doesn't want to move into a place is because he's got a big dog, basically.
Boy, that sounds like one of my clients.
Is he in Fillmore by any chance?
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I have adult protection services call it just calls our company to help with all sorts of interesting cases.
Does
But
is he in a
those
gated
big
community? Is it gated,
not
the entrance,
I'm not
maybe?
sure on that. I mean, big dogs, we can usually find places that can do most anything.
Yeah. Okay.
They may
Perfect.
take a big dog, not, but if the dog is barking or is not friendly,
They won't do it.
it's unlikely. You're going to have to bring a caregiver. Now, then you may have a hard time getting a caregiver to come into your home too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of an outlier.
Perfect. And then what about, like, how are most people paying for this? Are most people having to sell their property to pay for this? Are most people going through the VA, through the Medi-Cal, through Medicare, through maybe insurance? Like, what's most common?
So there's three ways to pay for assisted living. One is long-term care insurance, which we love it when people have those policies. Not very many people have them, but there's really good hybrid policies, long-term life insurance policies. And that's another thing I'll give people, like insurance agents that sell those. Two, veterans benefits. If there's restrictions on that, you have to have been in serving during wartime, at least one day during after wartime. And then we can give you several companies that can do all the paperwork for you to get veterans benefits, or you go directly to the VA. A single can get, I think it's around $2,200 a month the rest of their life. A widow of a veteran can get $1,400 a month the rest of their life. So that's an important benefit if someone could qualify. And then 3 is private resources. So most of the time people are having to sell or rent their family home in order to pay for living. And often that's why people have their home. Of course, they want to leave it to their kids. But, a lot of kids can't afford to pay for their parents to live in assisted living, and get the care they need or to have home care. So there's also reverse mortgages. People take out a reverse mortgage on a home to pay for in-home care. But most often our families are having to do something with that family home. Rent it, sell it. Yeah.
Got it.
Because
now,
otherwise, insurance, there's no other insurances that pay for assisted living, only long-term care insurance.
What if somebody doesn't have a home or doesn't have any money? Like, what happens to those people?
Okay, I get this call all the time. Mom has $1,300 a month, and that is it. That's her Social Security. She's 90 years old. She's gone through everything else. Her kids are working, or they don't have any money to add in. So what we'll do is, mom will be on Medi-Cal, or if she isn't, we'll give them the phone number to get on Medi-Cal and qualify for in-home support services, which provides in-home caregivers limited time. So sometimes we cobble things together. We'll bring in-home caregivers and maybe do an adult day program that the parent can go to. If that doesn't work, sometimes the kids or family members can work together with in-home caregivers. And then we'll get them enrolled in assisted living waiver program. So this is a Medi-Cal program, like I mentioned earlier, only available in LA County, that will pay for assisted living, whether it's a residential care home, memory care, or large assisted living. But that program right now is taking 1 year to get into because there's so many people in need.
In that situation,
there's a couple ways to fast track it if you're living in a skilled nursing facility or with adult protective services case. But otherwise, it takes a year. So we're often helping families. Let's figure this out. What are we going to do? Maybe the kids can put in additional money. We can find a place for mom, which is like the minimum is lowest is like $3,200 a month, $2,800 a month. That's about the lowest for shared room in a residential care home. And if that could be paid for a year, then you can get into that program. Otherwise, we have to cobble together things with family help until someone could get into a program like that. It is a total crisis.
Big time.
Well, I work with all the social workers in the county, and every day we're just going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do to help this family?
Yeah, not only that, but I think there's so many people going through a situation like that. Like, even I have a client who's going to be selling a $400,000 or a $600,000 home. They have a loan on it, but their fear is that that money will only last for a period of 5 years. So what happens if mom outlives that? That's their concern, basically.
So that's why I do short-term, long-term plans with families.
Yeah.
We'll figure out where they're going to live now based on the proceeds from that home. But then a year before they run out of money, we're going to have them enrolled in something like assisted living waiver. There's a couple other places you can live long-term: Motion Picture and Television Fund, Jewish Home for the Aging, Masonic Home. There's a few very select places. Sometimes people can live long-term, but they all have long waiting lists. So we got to use those proceeds from the home to help care for the senior until they can get into a program that will take care of them through the rest of their life with just Social Security.
What are the biggest issues that you see when somebody's doing this on their own versus hiring a company like Assisted Living Connections?
Well, one, the good thing is you don't have to pay us anything for our expertise. So it's very much a win-win because those assisted living communities, this is part of their marketing budget and they call us and let us know when they have openings. Um, so you can do this on your own. You're going to be calling a whole bunch of places. It's very confusing. You don't know the background information on each of these places. If mom is really declined and needs to be in a small residential care home, what's the history on that place? How long have the owners had the home? And how long have the
Hmm.
caregivers been there? There's a lot of other things to look for. That's what when we tour with our clients, we guide them through those questions. Or in a big place, here's one. You're moving to a big assisted living. It's beautiful. Did you ask how much does it go up a year? Do you know that it used to be about 5% a year cost of living? Now it's closer to 8 to 10%. I even had a couple places charge 17% increase in rent.
In one
So
year?
that is really an important thing to know. So we have a lot of background questions that we had our clients ask communities that we guide them through this process to find the right place that's going to work for them for the long term.
Can these places increase the rent at any time, at any amount, or are they like on a contractual like lease amount, or how does that part work?
Well, let's say you move into a place for 5,000 a month. Typically, your rent's the same for the year, but then next year it can go up. And they're by law, they're required to tell you what the past 3 years, what's the average rent increase. Okay. But it's not contracted. They can raise it 20% if they want. Now I'll go in and help my clients because we continue to be advocates for our clients. So they'll often call me with some issue. I'll go in and help them with that. Sometimes we'll have mom in a 1 bedroom and now she's going to downsize to a studio apartment because now she's needing care. And so this will bring her costs down, or, we'll help negotiate with them
Yeah.
on that. I mean, that's a tough thing. The thing to think about is if you're young, look into long-term care with a life insurance hybrid. I can give you people who do that. You got to, if you're in real estate and you're buying properties, boy, you got to have a lot of properties set aside, because the problem is it's the last 70% of people over age 65 are, recent statistics um, with the Department of Social Services is that 70% of people will need at least 3 years of long-term care. And that can wipe you out.
And then these insurances for long-term care, it's funny because I was talking to an insurance rep and he told me that they don't even offer the same long-term care insurance that they offered maybe like 5 years ago because it was such a good policy and people were using it. Um, do you recommend long-term insurance policies and why? And about
Um,
how much are
I
they?
recommend them all the time because you can buy a life insurance now, long-term hybrid, so that if you never use your policy, your heirs will get it when you die because it's a life insurance policy also.
I
They're
love it.
still expensive, but it's way less than what you would pay when you're going to need that 3 years of care at the end of your life. Because you think about it, everyone around, especially the baby boomers and people who are in better health now and younger, are living to be over 90 years old. And when you get that old, you generally need some kind of help.
Got it.
It's a good reason to be working out and lifting weights and, keeping your balance and your bone density so that you don't, because when people fall, I mean, that's the most common cases we get is mom or dad fell. And it's a rapid decline. When someone breaks something, they have to go to the hospital and surgery and be under anesthesia, which then often accelerates any memory loss that's there.
I love it. Good. Any final words or anything else that you think would be helpful for our viewers as it relates to finding assisted living facilities, in-home care, skilled nursing, etc.?
Well, I mean, it can be depressing, all the statistics around it, but the joyful thing is like when my mom moved to an assisted living after a stroke, she was still pretty with it. Within 2 months, she met the cutest guy. and they fell in love. They were both, 80, and they had this wonderful love affair together. And they wanted to move into an apartment. And with the kids, we both said, well, we'd like you to get to know each other a little better before you move all your stuff in. And another 6 months later, they moved in together and lived together, and just had this great second lease on life. And we see that a lot. So there's a joyful thing when you can be in the environment where you have the socialization, you have the activities, engagement, you have good food, you're being properly hydrated, and there's somebody to watch out for you as you age. And there's so much relief on the part of the kids. My website's assistedlivingconnections.com, and I have people go to my Yelp page and just put assisted living Thousand Oaks. It'll be the number one that'll pop up. Look at the Yelp reviews from what people are saying about going through this process with us to get their parents help, or their husband, or their sister, their family member. So we really feel honored, our whole team, and all of us. This is just our calling, where we love doing this work and being a resource for families every day, no matter what the budget is. We help everyone.
I love it. So I wanted to say thank you, Kelila. Kelila, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I hope that this episode was helpful to our viewers. In today's episode, we covered how to find an assisted living. We talked about the differences between in-home care, nursing homes, skilled nursing. We talked about how to pay for it, Medicare, Medi-Cal, VA benefits, long-term insurance, pros and cons. So I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel that this episode will be helpful to somebody, make sure to hit that share button. Thank you so much again. And to our viewers, until next time.